Thank you, colleagues. We will commence proceedings, and as normal, I will just remind you of item 1.1, recording and publishing, that in accordance with the Local Government Act 1993, Cowra Council is recording this council meeting. So please note that this meeting is being recorded and you will be uploaded on Tuesday morning. By speaking at this meeting, you agree to being recorded. Please ensure that when you speak at this meeting, you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of the meeting. 1.2, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we gather, the Rugby people, and pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. 1.3, attendance, apologies and applications for leave of absence by councillors. All councillors are in attendance, including Councillor Delbo on Zoom, but we do have, I would suggest, an apology from the Director of Infrastructure and Operations, Mr. Wyman. Would someone move an apology be noted, please? Councillor Watt, Councillor Fagan. I'll put the motion that be accepted. All those in favour? Against, declare it carried. Thank you. 1.31 is on our iPads on page 6, which is the recommendation from the General Manager that Councillor Delbo be permitted to attend and participate in the ordinary council meeting by audio visual means, as she will be travelling, as she is travelling overseas, and able to attend in person. So we have a motion to support that, please. Councillor Judy Smith and Councillor Cheryl Downing. It's procedural. I assume there's no comments on that. Movers happy. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against, declare it carried. 1.4, I invite councillors and staff to indicate in relation to any interest that you need to declare. A, what report or item you declare an interest in. B, whether the interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary. And C, what is the nature of the interest. Councillor Fagan.
I'd like to declare an interest in, non-pecuniary interest in number 6.10, and that is the donation to Cowra Rugby Club, waiving of tip fees, as myself and my husband are members of the rugby club, and I'll be leaving the room for that discussion. I'd also like to declare an interest, a non-pecuniary interest in number 6.13, the donation to Cowra Tourism Corporation. I'm a council-appointed member of the Tourist Corporation, but I won't be leaving the meeting.
Any other? Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got 4, so please bear with me. Would like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 6.13, as I'm the independent chair of Cowra Tourism, not appointed by council, and I will leave the chamber. I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 7.1, as I have a close relationship with the applicant, and I will again leave the chamber. I would like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 8.5, as a member of my family is a supporting party to the DA, and I will leave the chamber. And I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest in item 13, as I own a business at the Cowra Airport.
Yeah, Councillor Kish.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 6.6 because my son is the chair of the Youth Council and I'm the deputy chair of SYNC. I'll remain in the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other declarations?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, I think Councillor Delbo's signal, so I'll let her come in. Councillor Delbo?
Thank you. Through the chair, I'd like to declare an interest in 6.11, the PCYC. It's a pecuniary interest as I'm a member of the board, an executive position, and I'll leave the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wright?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I declare an interest in item 11.1 as chairman of the NRM committee. I worked with the applicant in putting on a recent field day for the NRM committee. Thank you.
Non-pecuniary, and you will remain in the room.
Yeah, it's non-pecuniary, and I'll leave the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other declarations of interest? No?
Mr Chairman, I declare an interest in items 12.1 and 12.2 of pecuniary interest as they relate to the conditions of my employment with council, and will leave the chamber.
Thank you. And I would just, if I may, just declare a non-pecuniary interest in 6.12, Gaza Japanese Gardens, and as the acting chair of the gardens is appropriate, I will leave the room for that matter as well. Any other pecuniary interests? It's a revolving door, isn't it? All right. We'll move on, and we now come to the exciting part of the evening, and it is a motion to consider the term of the Deputy Mayor. And the recommendation there, which is procedural, the Deputy Mayor be elected for 12 months. Councillor Kiss, Councillor Downing, thank you. Any other comments on that? Does mover need to speak? It's procedural. No. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Item 1.5, 1.52 is the election of Mayor and Deputy Mayor. And there's recommendation there as we need to do, colleagues, that the process to elect the Mayor and Deputy Mayor be by open voting. And in the event of 2 or more nominations being received for either position, we'll have open voting. Someone will move that with Councillor Smith, thank you. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Any comments on that? I think we understand what that is. No comments. Mover doesn't need to speak, I don't think. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against, and I'll declare it carried. And with that, I will hand the meeting over to the General Manager to conduct the election of the Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Please, Mr General Manager, and I'll vacate the chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Chairman. Councillors, we'll firstly conduct the election for the office of Mayor for 2023-24. I currently have 3 formal nominations, one from Councillor Sharon Delbo, one from Councillor Peter Wright, and one from Councillor Ruth Fagan. I confirm that each of the nominees has consented to their nomination. I would ask, are there any other nominations? It has been decided that the method of voting for the position of Mayor will be by show of hands. So I'll now place into a ballot box the names of the nominees, and the order in which they are drawn out will be the order in which the vote will be taken. The old ballot box. I have asked for a lighter one. It's just showing that is empty. And so we'll place into there the nominations. Councillor Ruth Fagan, Councillor Peter Wright, and Councillor Sharon Delbo. Give that as good a shake as I can. No. Open and hold. In there somewhere. Councillor Peter Wright. Councillor Sharon Delbo. No. And Councillor Ruth Fagan. So I would now ask, please, councillors, that those councillors voting for Councillor Peter Wright to please raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you. For those councillors voting for Councillor Sharon Delbo, please raise your hand. Yes, I just say I do have Councillor Delbo on the screen in front of me here. Yeah. Could I ask those councillors voting for Councillor Ruth Fagan to please raise your hand? Thank you, councillors. Councillor Peter Wright recorded 1 vote, Councillor Sharon Delbo recorded 3 votes, and Councillor Ruth Fagan recorded 5 votes. Therefore, Councillor Peter Wright, with the lowest number of votes, is excluded from the ballot. We'll now conduct the ballot draw again and then have a further round of voting. So we'll show the empty box. Hold it for me. Again, empty box. Place in Councillor Sharon Delbo's name. Councillor Ruth Fagan's name. Councillor Ruth Fagan. And Councillor Sharon Delbo. So I would ask those councillors voting for Councillor Ruth Fagan to please raise your hand. Thank you. I would ask those councillors voting for Councillor Sharon Delbo to please raise your hand. So thank you, councillors. Councillor Ruth Fagan recorded 5 votes. Councillor Sharon Delbo recorded 4 votes. I therefore declare Councillor Ruth Fagan elected as Cowra Shire Mayor for the 2023-24 year. We're now going to go straight into the election of Deputy Mayor. I currently have 2 formal nominations, one from Councillor Peter Wright and one from Councillor Paul Smith. I confirm that each of the nominees has consented to their nomination. I'd ask, are there any other nominations? Okay. We'll go through the same procedure in place. Councillor Paul Smith and Councillor empty ballot box. Councillor Paul Smith. Councillor Peter Wright. Thank you, Michael. Councillor Peter Wright, you're first on the ballot. And Councillor Paul Smith. Get my trusty sheet of paper. So I'd ask those councillors voting for Councillor Peter Wright to please raise your hand. Thank you. I'd ask those councillors voting for Councillor Paul Smith to please raise your hand. Thank you, councillors. So Councillor Paul Smith received 5 votes. Councillor Peter Wright received 4 votes. I therefore declare Councillor Paul Smith elected Deputy Mayor of Cowra Shire Council for 2023-24. And I would ask Mayor Fagan to please take the chair.
Thank you. Great.
In your hands.
I'm in your hands. Okay. Right. Thank you very much for supporting me. Thank you for my colleagues, and congratulations to Deputy Mayor Paul Smith. and congratulations to the other candidates, because it's very hard to stand for any position, and I really appreciate that we've made the effort tonight, and it's been a very democratic. Thank you to the General Manager for his conduct of the election, and I appreciate the effort that he's put in. I know he's been studying very hard to make it work. So, I think it's important at this stage, if I can, pay tribute to Bill and Judy for their hard work and commitment over the large number of years. And I'm sure they missed some important family and very important farming functions at times, and because they were leading our community in a very fine form, and we appreciate that a great deal. And I'm sure the community pay their tribute to you, and we thank you very much and sincerely for all the efforts in the last 15 years or so that you've been involved. So thank you very much. If anyone could, if we could show our appreciation by applause to Judy and Bill. Right, now down to business. Is that right, Mr. General Manager? Thank you very much. I'll use the script. So the public forum tonight is, we have a public forum. We have 2 people who are registered to speak. And we have, first off, we have Scott Vickery, and he's going to, those members of the public have registered with the General Manager's office to speak on an item in the agenda will be called upon by name, and I ask that you introduce yourself, state the item you wish to speak on, and allow time for any councillor or member of staff, if they have declared an interest in the item, to manage that conflict, which may include them leaving the video link during your presentation. There are 2 registered speakers for this meeting, Scott Vickery, who is speaking to item 7.2, the Materials Recycling Facility Operations, and the Director of Infrastructure Operations was the author of that report. So if Scott, you could come and introduce yourself, that would be great. Thank you. Hit the button on the...
Thank you. I get a bit nervous in front of groups of people of more than one person, so just bear with me. Sorry. No, it's all right. I'm not nervous. Thank you, newly elected Mayor, General Manager, councillors. My issue arose, I'm going to be really quick, hopefully within 5 minutes, was in relation to a friend who went out to the MRF probably 2.5 months ago, saw a recycling truck come in, dump the entire load into landfill, then the dozer came in and pushed it all through. He then spoke to another staff member out there who wants to remain anonymous, and this staff member said this has been going on for a long time. So I've then spoken to another staff member who wants to remain anonymous, obviously, and they said that it has been going on for at least 2 or 3 years to their knowledge, where the bulk of stuff has been getting dumped into landfill whilst ratepayers are still paying for the recycling bins. So I did, as a result of that, spoke to the manager, I think it was Miss Childs, and then I also sent a letter off to Paul. Paul sent me back 2 responses in writing and asked me to attend. Well, said the offer was there to attend tonight if need be. So I'm referring to section 7.2 of the agenda on page 153, and it's in relation to the recycling bins since they've been in service in Cowra, and also the container deposit scheme at Woolworths, which has been going, I think, since 2017 according. So all the information I'm about to relay to you is all on the report back to the General Manager from the manager herself. So I'm going to just quickly, I've only picked out little pieces. I just want to quickly go through this. The container deposit scheme, or the CDS, commenced in December 17. Providing a CDS material sorting service to Cleanaway was identified as an opportunity for council to expand the total sorted volume at the MRF and create an additional income stream to offset the reduction in income due to loss of curbside aluminium. The report goes on to say the following table demonstrates that the CDS volumes received far exceeded curbside volumes and exceeded the capacity of single sorting line and staff capacity. Go on. However, available space was limited for the volume of incoming material. As a result of that, unsorted yellow bin material was diverted direct to landfill if storage space at the rear of the MRF was limited. My concern then was highlighted here on the next paragraph. The dedicated CDS line was constructed in August 2018 and was at full operational capacity in January 2019. In the time period between January 2018 and 2019, an operational decision was taken to prioritise the CDS sorting line over the curbside sorting line due to the high volume of CDS material being received at the site. During this period, 990 tonnes of inbound curbside collection was diverted direct to landfill without sorting. Potentially 430 tonnes of recycled material was not recovered. This was prior to COVID. The next page goes on. For the period from 2020 to 2022, the Weybridge records indicate a higher amount of unsorted yellow bin material was diverted direct to landfill, which is 230 tonnes. Total, potentially 99 tonnes of that was recycled material that was not recovered. As explained in the draft waste strategy description, the yellow bin recycling line is hand sorted with 5 staff sorters. The COVID health orders required the number of sorters to be reduced to comply with the spacing requirements. The sorting line output could not keep up during this period. The sorting area storage capacity was again exceeded and incoming yellow bin material had to be diverted to landfill. During normal operations, if the staff numbers are reduced, then the space available for unsorted yellow bin recycling can be exceeded. Even as more recent as May this year, the report states that May report below shows a much higher contamination rate at 72%. Now, this contamination rate wasn't due to people putting the wrong things in the bins. The report states this is because the CDS glass breaker was broken down for a period requiring replacement motors to be supplied and fitted. So basically, with all that said, it seems as though since 2018, according to the report, a lot of recycling stuff that people sometimes, I know I like to rinse stuff out, squash it down, go out of my way to put stuff in there. None of my stuff in the 30 years I've been living here, or 35 years now, has ever been contaminated to my knowledge. None of it, not one piece. And I would imagine that the majority of Cowra residents would probably be the same. My issue is here, however, and I outlined this to Paul, that when I contacted the Office of the, the OLG, which is the Office of the Local Government, they first requested that I send a letter to Paul, getting a response back from him, which I've got. They've suggested a course of action I could take, which I'm not going to do at this stage, pending what the council decide they want to do about this. But my concern is, and please don't shoot the messenger, I'm not sure, I mean, obviously I'm from a policing background, so there's a lot of laws that you get your head around when you're a policeman. But one of those laws, it complies to everybody in relation to Australian consumer law. And Section 52 of the Australian Consumer Law clearly states that a corporation shall not, in trade or commerce, engage in conduct that is misleading or deceptive or is likely to mislead or deceive. This applies to both goods and services. So my argument is that even though, according to the notes, we were diverting all that stuff that was nearly for 18 months, and the agreement was made according to the report that all that stuff was going to go into landfill, council never decided to hold off on charging residents the 100, whatever it was back then, it might have been 120 bucks or whatever. I know it's now gone up to 135 this financial year. But knowing that what you were doing was still charging residents for a fee for a service that you weren't supplying, and that's my issue. If you go further than that, then you look at the Crimes Act. So, and I mean, this is a lot harder to prove. The Australian consumer law is a lot easier to prove. It comes under Section 192E of the Crimes Act, which states a person who, by any deception, dishonestly obtains property belonging to another, which in this case would be a fee for the recycling, which is money, or obtains any financial advantage or causes any financial disadvantage, is guilty of the offence of fraud. So I'm not saying it's got to go that far, but what I am saying is that now that it's been brought to council's attention, and I probably stirred up a hornet's nest by saying this, I think something needs to look back and say, well, for all that time, we still continued to bring money in. And I know that you were getting paid from local councils to receive soft plastics and glass and other things like that. That was to pick up on the shortfall of the income generated from aluminium, according to the report. So that's my concern, is we've been looking, I know COVID threw everybody, but even during COVID, when there wasn't enough staff out there because of the distance requirements set by legislation, we still had all this stuff going into landfill whilst council still jacked up every year another $5 or $10 for each garbage bin. Now, I've got 3 properties in Cowra, so I'm up for, what's that, say $400. I've got a family member who's got 13 properties in Cowra, and he's up for probably $1,700. That's only for one financial year. So this is what I'm trying to do, is bring it to your attention, see what can be done to ease the pain. I know that the council's got some plans in place to try and remedy the problem with the number or the amount of recycling going into landfill. But my issue is that council, whether it's an individual or an organisation or a government body, it doesn't matter, can't continually charge a fee for a service that you know you're not supplying. Otherwise, I know that the recycling bins, if you live in town, are mandatory. So I can't get out, I can't ring council up and say, come and get my recycling bin and then take that off my rates notice, ×3. But if you knew that you weren't going to be putting that into where it was supposed to be going, why was council still continuing charging ratepayers a fee for a service you weren't supplying? Otherwise, I would have just put all my recycling in the garbage bin because that's where it was going to go. So it's just about being a little bit more transparent. I would sincerely hope that at this stage, well, in my eyes, the offences have been committed because it's in the report, and obviously I've paid the fees. It's only me I'm speaking on behalf for. I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone else. So I just hope the council can come to some sort of arrangement or some sort of action to try and remedy what's been done in the past. You can't look at what we're going to do now in the future because the damage has already been done. So I just think it's a bit greedy for the council to keep charging someone a fee for a service we're not supplying and knowingly not doing it. So all that information I've just read out to you is actually in the report on the agenda for tonight. So it's not as though I've made anything up. I know a lot of the loads go through that they might be contaminated with syringes and other crap that people put in there that they shouldn't be. I get that. But I do also note the council has tried to in the past get rid of that rubbish, then put the stuff back through recycling, and that's fantastic, and that's what I would expect to happen. But when you read in the agenda that the council's made that decision to go those 18 months or 17 months without putting any of that stuff through recycling, the facility, and still charging and still upping the fee for it, that's where the offences occurred.
Okay.
So, and we don't know it's occurred until someone brings it to your attention. So,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you very much, Scott.
All right,
Thank you. Anyone got any questions for Scott, or is that okay? No one's got any questions. Thanks, Scott. Thank you very much. Now, the second person listed to speak is Ray Walsh, speaking to item 1.5.2, election of mayor and deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pagan, and congratulations on your election. Congratulations to Councillor Paul Smith being elected deputy mayor. And I'd just like to remind our fellow councillors that when we look at some of the shires around, we see the turnover of mayors, deputy mayors, that one of the best things that you can do to govern for Cowra and Cowra Shire is to work together and make sure that all decisions of council, whether you agree with it or not, if it's a majority decision, that you work for that to make sure that that decision's implemented. The other reason why I wanted to speak was just to acknowledge the wonderful work that former mayor and still councillor Mayor West has done for this shire over the last, 18 years, I think it is, as mayor, or 15 years as mayor, and another 8 as a councillor. And too few people know the amount of work that goes into being in the higher office of council in this shire. And I just want to pay tribute to him. Great credit to the way council has been run over the years. We've had 2 mayors in Cowra over 30 years, and that's given us tremendous stability. And once again, I remind everyone of that too. So once again, thank you, Bill. Thank you for the work that you've done. Judy, thank you too for what you've done. Deputy Mayor now for, 15 years? 13? Something like that. No, Ian Brown was before you. Yep. But anyways, you've still done a wonderful job, and I thank you, and I think the majority of thinking people would also be thanking both of you for what you have done. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. Anyone got any questions for Ray? Obviously not. We'll move on then. Okay, so we now have number two, item number 2, the confirmation of minutes. Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councillor West. Councillor West, you may have a say.
Madam Mayor, just if I may, if you indulge me slightly, I'd just like to acknowledge your initial remarks and of appreciation to my term as a mayor. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of Councillor Smith as well, who's been a wonderful deputy mayor to this council as well. And I just also thank Ray Walsh for his comments. It's been a pleasure and a great journey for me personally, and I guess it's been a privilege, but I'd also just acknowledge senior staff and my council colleagues who have also played a significant role, because it doesn't matter who's in charge of the ship, it's a team effort that gets us there in the long run. So I just want to acknowledge my colleagues and your kind remarks, and Mr. Walsh's kind remarks as well, and I look forward to sitting here in the side benches or something, the back benches or somewhere, and enjoying everybody's company and watching good decisions being made by this council continuing. So just thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Through you, Mayor Fagan, I'd just like to advise the councillors that weren't in attendance on Saturday night that our then Mayor, Bill West, was awarded the extremely prestigious Order of the Rising Sun by the Japanese government. And I think those of you who were there, was a bit moving. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, so we will now move on to the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 28th of August 2023. And the confirmation of confidential minutes of ordinary council meeting held on 28th of August 2023. Somebody move that. Thank you, Councillor Kiss and Councillor Smith, Judy Smith. We have a mayoral minute. Oh, anyone speak for or against that that recommendation? Put the motion. All in favour? Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we have a mayoral minute from Central New South Wales Joint Organisation Board meeting and the passing of Mr Murakami. So the first one is 3.1. If we could have a mover for that. The mayoral minute, you've all received a copy. Somebody move that be accepted. Sorry? The JO, the New South Wales Joint Organisation Board meeting on the 23rd of August. You were attending. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Councillor West and Councillor Kiss. Thank you. Anyone with anything to say about that? Councillor West, would you like to speak?
I'm used to it being on all the time, sorry. We've had opportunity the last week or so to raise any issues that went through the information meeting, and we just invite any questions if there are any.
Councillor Delbo, you'd like to say something?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mayor Fagan. I'd like to just, there's a lot of information in the report, but I just wanted to single out the final item of the passing of Kevin Walker, a former Deputy Mayor of Cabonne Council. I had the privilege to work with him, and I just wanted to pay my condolences to his family and the community of Canoundra and Cabonne Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss, would you like to speak? Would you like to write a reply, Councillor West?
No, Madam Mayor.
Well, I put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. Moved on to the 3.2 mayoral minute, the passing of Mr Murakami. Would you like to move that, Councillor West?
Happy to move. I'm sure Councillor Smith.
Councillor Smith seconds that. And would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr Murakami was a dear friend of Cowra, and as the report says, he was realistically, and I think reliably believe he was the last survivor of the prisoner of war camp in Cowra. And we had the good fortune on more than one occasion to actually meet Mr Murakami and enjoy his company and his story, and he was quite open and frank with us and very charming in the way he conducted himself. But he was very much around peace and reconciliation, and always displayed and spoke highly of the respect that he was shown and his fellow soldiers were shown, and particularly those who lost their lives in Cowra, the respect that they were that his former colleagues were shown, and the dignity within which the Cowra community, particularly those RSL members in the early days, that displayed, and he had always demonstrated his appreciation both in Cowra and in Japan when he had the opportunity. And I think the last time most of us saw him was in the 75th anniversary of the breakout, so he'll be missed.
Councillor Smith, would you like to comment?
Councillor West has said it all. He was a wonderful man.
Would anyone else like to comment? And I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Now we have the General Committee recommendations from Monday 11th of September on page 50. So if we could move to that. Which is the section 355 Cowra Sport and Recreation Council. Have we got a seconder? Councillor. Yeah. So we've got Councillor Wright and Councillor Peter Wright and Councillor Gerald Downey moving that. Anyone, would you like to speak, Councillor Wright?
Just to say that the committee's been working very well and bringing ideas forward, and they organised the showing of the soccer World Cup, give people opportunity to see it. I think it probably wasn't the best conditions, but at least they made the effort to be there, and they had a successful meeting at the club for ideas, creations, and so forth. I congratulate them on their work.
Councillor Downey?
I think I went over it last meeting fairly extensively, but just to say Councillor Peter Wright's comments are true. They would have been my highlights as well. And just to say that the amount of work the staff put in for a networking night and for the showing of the Matildas games was amazing. So just to thank them for their support as well.
Excellent. Is there any other comments? Well, I'll put that motion. If you would like to vote, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Now, number 4.2, investments. That council note the investments and financial report for August 2023. I have a mover, Councillor West, a seconder, Councillor Smith, Paul Smith. Would you like to speak, Councillor West? Councillor Smith? Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Donation to Cowra District Senior Citizens Club Incorporated. Recommendation that council contribute the sum of $1,167.99 from the Section 356 expenses budget to assist Cowra and District Senior Citizens Club in court with its water and sewer charges. That moved Councillor Watt and seconded Councillor Kiss. Would you like to speak, Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As we discussed in our General Committee meeting, the Cowra and District Senior Citizen Club is a venue used by a lot of people in our community and adds a lot to our social fabric. So I'm happy to support contributing $1,167.99. Would love to give you $1 billion, but we don't have it. So I make the recommendation.
Councillor Kiss? Anyone else like to speak?
If I could, I look at the Cowra Senior Citizens Club and what they do, and then we get all those data that we got the other night about Cowra's ageing population, and I think it's only apt that we look after our ageing population. Perhaps we can become a very vibrant ageing population town. Thank you.
I could say, do you want to declare an interest, but... but we'll leave it at that. Does anyone else want to comment about the senior citizens account? No one likes to comment. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's carried. Carried? Did you want to say something, Sharon? I'm sorry, Councillor Delbo? No? Thank you. Sorry, I keep forgetting you're there. So now we have the Section 355 committee minutes for the Tidy Towns Committee. Councillor Judy Smith, and a seconder would be Councillor Nick Kiss. And you would like to speak?
Thank you. As people know, the annual RAFCA event was held on Sunday the 17th of August, and it was very well attended. There were some amazing sculptures there, two of which are still on view in the Cowra Library at the request of the librarian. Be careful, there is a dragon, and that one won Best in Show, and the other one was a winner. So it was a lovely day, and I do thank all the councillors who were able to attend. I know that a number had prior commitments. I don't know why people say that there's nothing to do in Cowra, because if ever I try to stage an event, there are always a lot of competing events. I would particularly like to pay tribute to the Acting Director of Infrastructure and Operations, who's in the chamber with us, who is part of the committee and who did and does an extraordinary amount of work for that committee. It's a hard-working committee, but it wouldn't function without the extra help that Pippa gives us. So thank you very much for that.
Would the seconder like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, look, I don't know that there's much more that I could add that Councillor Smith hasn't said, but look, to see that committee in action is quite remarkable. So see the way that they interact with all the youngsters over there that were creating the artwork, and the quality of the artwork that was presented as well. It was an extremely pleasant experience to be over there, and they should be congratulated for their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mayor Fagan. Just an item come up out of the RAFCA Awards on Sunday the 17th, and one of the committee members, Jan Serene, announced that it would be her last RAFCA meeting, and I think it could be, she is thinking of retiring from the committee, and I think and she's been involved right from the start. She's one of the major prize people to go around and get donations for prize and so forth. And I'd like to think that the committee will ask or send a thank you letter to her. It was also mentioned by Councillor Judy Smith that RAFCA might have run its time, whether it will continue, and I think part of that is just the committee is getting a little bit older and looking for a bit of revitalisation. Nothing to be said, but they've done it for 14 years or something, 13, 14 years. It's a big effort, and I think going forward, either the 355, the Tidy Towns Committee, or it might even come to council, and we have a think tank and what we will do in that space. I think there's a need to encourage the recycling of material, and I've been working with the schools, and if that starts there, it might continue on the need for recycling further down the track, and we get better rates of recycling through the MRF and so forth. I've probably said too much, but I just want to pay tribute to the committee and the work they've done with the RAFCA. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Does somebody, would you like to move a supplementary note or an addition to that to write an official letter from council?
No, and I'll explain why in my right.
Okay, that's fine. Would you like, anyone else like to write a reply, Councillor Smith?
Thank you, and thanks to Councillor Kiss and Councillor Wright. Just in answer to what Councillor Wright was saying, Jan Serene will remain on the committee until the last meeting for the year, which is at the end of October, at which time further information will come to council and all appropriate steps will be taken.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Anyone, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Now, number 4.5, development application 5/1/2023. Bank Street, Goolagong, a dwelling continued use of 3 shipping containers and awning structure lodged by Cowra Proprietary Limited. Have a mover for that motion. Councillor Judy Smith
Yeah.
and Councillor West. Would you like to speak, Councillor Smith?
Thank you. I think I spoke about this at the committee meeting. It's an application to build a house and to have an ancillary structure which would consist of the 3 shipping containers with an awning over it, as I understand it. And the slight issue is that the ancillary structure will be located forward of the front line of the new dwelling. However, the applicants, even though it's not required, have put in a plan for some gardening, which which will screen that from view from the road. This was put to the neighbours and there were no objections, and I think it's been sufficiently addressed.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Seconder, Councillor West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Very quickly, just to endorse what Councillor Smith has enunciated, but to probably add, it has been well assessed by staff. It went through the committee stages and a number of questions were answered and resolved. My understanding is there have been no further questions, and I would assume that councillors, as they were at the committee meeting, are satisfied with this has been appropriate development in this particular place. So I strongly support it.
Thank you very much. Has anyone else got a comment about this development application? Would you like a right of reply, Councillor Smith? Then I'll put the motion. All in favour? Hands up. Everyone in favour? Anyone against? All in favour? I declare it carried. Thank you very much. Now, item number 5, the General Manager has a proposed motion from the LG New South Wales Annual Conference, which is in November. I have a mover for that. I think Councillor Wright. Thank you, Councillor Wright and Councillor Smith. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak about that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This resolution relates to what we're doing with the product once we've collected it at the nurse. A lot of the kids and collectors have never got to find a home for it, and that's not always easy. It's related to us by the Director of Environmental Service, Director of Operations, the glass component that we've been collecting. Clean away have suggested that we come to Adelaide to try and process it, and that's a fair way away. A lot of money spent in transport, and that takes the profit out of anything that people do with it. And with increased community handling, increased volume, we need to find more manufacturers capacity to process this within, hopefully, our staple from Australia, and definitely not be exporting our property somewhere else. And because if we can't find a home for it, we're either going to have to pay the cost to get it somewhere to be processed, and that would be a negative impact on our operation. The extreme place of recycling behind the bar, and it takes away any positive or profit by deferring it, not letting it enter landfill.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Smith?
Just to say that it's topical tonight that we would come across this, but it highlights the problems we have with lots of the environmental issues, that we all want to do them, but they have to be practical. And this is one way that we may get them to be practical.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Anyone else like comment? Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to thank Councillor Wright for bringing this motion forward and hope that it gets due consideration at the local government conference later this year. We have stated in our community strategic plan that we aim to be an area of environmental excellence, and I think this motion speaks very well towards that ambition of ours. And we know that as we have taken on processing the container deposit scheme, there are a number of other recyclable materials which are struggling to reprocess and struggling to find out what to do with, as many have seen with the falling apart of the soft plastics industry. And I hope that local government New South Wales picks this up as an area to push with our local government and our federal government, and I'm sure as a council we'll continue to push for this.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Wright, would you like a right of reply? Or was anyone else wanted to have a discussion? No more further comment? Councillor Wright? Will I put the motion? All those in favour? Those against? It's carried. Thank you very much. Now we're moving to page 75, which is the Director of Corporate Services report. And it's about the pecuniary interest returns for the financial year ended June 2023. They're being tabled.
So moved.
Moved to Councillor West, seconded Councillor Downing. Thank you, Councillor Downing. Anyone else would like to speak about this, Councillor West?
It's self-explanatory, Madam Mayor. It's what one consider housekeeping. It's a responsibility we have to do, and they're tabled for information as is appropriate.
Anyone else like to speak? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Carried. Thank you. So number 6.2, release of closed decisions. They're there for your, we've all seen these, and I need somebody to recommend that these decisions be released. Sharon Dilbo, thanks Sharon, and Councillor Kiss. And would you like to speak, Sharon? Second, would like to speak? Anyone else like to comment? If that's the case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Thank you very much. It's carried. So then we've got number 77, page 77, the completion of the 2022-23 financial statements by the Director of Corporate Services. That Council authorise a referral to audit the financial statements for the financial year ending 30th of June in order for Council's auditors to conduct the audit. Councillor Smith, Judy Smith, and Councillor Downing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. You would like to speak, Councillor Smith?
Only to say that this is something that we are required to do, but I have every confidence in our financial statements that they will audit well.
Councillor Downing. Would anyone else like to speak about the financial statements? If that's the case, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. Thank you very much. Carried. Now we have page 85, the donation to Mullian Public School spectacular event. Somebody move it, Councillor Downing and Councillor Watt. Councillor Downing, would you like to speak?
I did have a query about this one because it's for a school. So I contacted the staff and I'm more than happy to support this one. Mullian haven't taken part in the school spectacular since 2018, and it's wonderful that they're performing this year as part of the 40th anniversary show. The money that they've requested, they've said, will be spent on transport, accommodation, costumes, food and incidentals. And being a public school, they aren't classified as a commercial operation. Extracurricular activities are not covered by normal funding. So they fundraise and seek donations to fill their needs. And just to finally say, Council has supported other schools in the past in this fashion.
Excellent. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Downing. I'd like to also support this in line with Councillor Downing's comments about school not being considered a commercial operation, and that this is not something that would be included in the budget for the school. As a child of the arts, particularly dance, I can guarantee you these experiences are some that you don't forget. And I think it's fantastic for us to be able to support these children, as noted in the application, children who potentially have never been to Sydney before and have certainly probably not performed on a stage of this scale. It will be an experience that you don't forget, and congratulations to all of the children chosen to take part, and can't wait to watch you on TV.
Anyone else would like to comment?
Yes.
Councillor Wright.
Yeah, no, I support it, and Councillor Watt touched on the reason why I support it. It's giving people in the dance and singing activities a chance to perform at one of the highest levels there is. If this had come forward and they wanted $2,000 to send us 2 or 3 sports teams to a carnival somewhere, we'd probably look at it differently. That's good, you know, they get to compete. Well, this is what these dancers and singers are doing. They're getting a chance to compete at a major event, and you can consider that their sporting oval when they go to Sydney to participate in this concert. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Does anyone else wish to comment? Would the mover like to write a reply? In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Thank you very much. Carried. The next motion is for the draft minutes of the annual general meeting of the Cowra Breakout Association held on the 20th of August, and the nominees are Gordon Rolls, Harvey Nicholson, Graham Apthorpe, Lawrence Ryan and Stassi Austin to be appointed to that committee. Can I have a move?
Madam Mayor, can I ask a question before there's a mover and a seconder?
Yes, you can.
The question refers to dot point 2, which says that the council appoint the following nominees to the Breakout Association. My question is either through you to the director or the councillor who's on this committee. Should there be in there to the executive of the Breakout Association? Because my understanding is that there are more members of the committee, but these people at the AGM were renominated to their positions on the executive.
General Manager?
Madam Chair, these are the members of the committee. There are no other committee members. They do have supporters, but they are not members of the committee. So these are nominees for members of the committee. That's certainly my understanding. I did have a conversation with one of the nominees about that very matter, because I think they've previously had people or a role of members, and I did indicate to them, well, there is no framework that allows you to have a role of members. You have members of the committee that are appointed by council. That's it, and that's what we have in front of you tonight.
Councillor West?
I'm happy to move it. Can I just inquire as to whether the council representative to the Breakout Association is aware of this, and I would suggest that maybe the council delegate could be added to the list.
Yeah, I think Councillor Watt's the delegate.
That's correct.
So you'd like to speak, Councillor Watt?
Yes, I didn't receive an invitation to the annual general meeting, so I will, perhaps myself and the general manager could follow that up so we can get an answer to this question.
So have a seconder, Councillor West,
Yep.
Councillor Downing. Would you like to speak, Councillor West?
I think it's self-explanatory, but I think it's also important if we have a representative for these committees, the council representative, no matter what committee. I'm not assuming any clandestine here, but I think it's just something we should be conscious of, that where there's a councillor appointed to a 355 committee, that the council should be involved in these sorts of committees, that's all.
Councillor Downing?
That was my one query from reading these minutes, that where was the councillor? So, yeah, that's answered the question.
Madam Chair, just make the point, you don't need to include the councillor member in this resolution, because that councillor member remains a member of the committee until such times you change that membership, which will be coming before you at the November meeting.
Thank you. Right a reply, Councillor West?
Yeah, just quite happy with the general manager's explanation, but I'm happy with the recommendation as it stands, that my point is still that these councillors do need to be informed and kept in the loop and be part of these processes, whatever committee it may be.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Oh, you've just had right of reply. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So section 355 committee draft minutes for the Cowra Youth Council. And I have a mover, Councillor Smith and Councillor Watt. Would you like to speak, Councillor Smith?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. It's been a busy time for Youth Council, and I'd particularly highlight the fact that they hosted the World Peace Day Forum for leadership groups from the various schools, and including 3 UN youth representatives from New South Wales. It was a fun day and an interesting day. A number of councillors were present, as were a number of members of the Peace Bell Association and of Rotary as well. Fewer young people than anticipated, given that one school pulled out on the day before, which was very disappointing, but a lot learned and some very good speeches listened to. Next on the agenda is a screening or multiple screenings of a film made by the organisation run by Taran Brumford, who was Australian of the Year, and it's all about body positivity aimed at young people from about 8 to 12, 13, 14 years of age, and I would certainly encourage any parents and young people and school teachers and school students to go along to that, because I believe that it is fantastic and it is all free. There will also be a lot of support organisations there on the day, such as our neighbours over here and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Watt, would you like to comment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All in support of everything from Councillor Judy Smith. The World Peace Day Forum was a fantastic show of the leadership that the committee members of Youth Council have and how they develop over time. In addition to Councillor Smith's comments, I would like to add that it's really important that we not only have the kids coming along to the Embrace Kids screening on the 19th of October, but also the people around them. As I was confronted with the other day, I made a comment about my own body in front of the youth committee and realised the impact that we can have on others by how we view ourselves. And I think many of us have found ourselves in similar positions. Also like to add, since these minutes have come forth, that the Youth Council have participated in Try a Trade and also supported the Cowra Japanese Gardens at Sakura Matsuri on the weekend, and I think that was greatly appreciated, and such a show of great young kids taking part not only in putting on great events for themselves and their fellow youth, but also supporting Cowra community.
Anyone else like to comment?
Just very
Councillor
quickly
West.
pick up on that last point of Councillor Watts. The Youth Council did spend a considerable amount of time at the Japanese Garden and Cultural Centre on Saturday, and they were great ambassadors as always and did a tremendous job, and their efforts were greatly appreciated. So you might pass that back on, please, to the Youth Council.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to comment? Councillor Wright.
Oh, I've got a question. The movie, you call it a movie, the thing about body positivity, it's open to both male and females, is it?
Thank you. Right of reply? Councillor Smith? No need. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now, the next one is the draft minutes of the Cowra Regional Art Gallery Advisory Committee, and I think Councillor Delbo would like to move that just in time.
Yes,
Thank you. We have a second for that? Councillor West. Yes, Councillor Delbo, would you like to comment?
yes, please. Through the chair, I'd like to offer my thanks to Catherine Bennett, who has now resigned from our committee. For numerous years, she has been a committed member of the committee, turning up and helping out to install exhibitions, and that this support hasn't gone unnoticed, and I wish her all the best in her future creative endeavours and other committees that she may seek to to join. For those that are in the culture or creative world, we have a fantastic exhibition on as we speak over at the gallery. If you've never had the opportunity to see Ollie Cotton's photographic work or Max Dupain, then I'd suggest you head over there and have a look. It is fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Delbo. Councillor West?
No, nothing to add, Madam Mayor. I just wonder though if Councillor Delbo wants to add that I noticed that the acting chair is going to write to Catherine Bennett, but I wonder if it's appropriate that council write to Catherine Bennett as well.
Would you include that, Councillor Delbo, in your motion? Is it
Yes, please. Yes, please.
3?
Yeah, thank you, mate. Yeah.
Everyone understand that we're writing to Catherine Bennett and expressing our thanks for her dedication and commitment. So we're happy with that. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against are carried. Thank you very much. So now we have the draft minutes of the Australian chapter of the World Peace Bell Association. I think Councillor, Downing would like to move that. I got it. I have a seconder for that. Yes. Councillor Wright. Thank you, Councillor Downing. Would you like to?
I'm just going to change my name before
There's
next
always
time.
one, isn't it? Thank you.
Peace Bell. We have 2 lots of minutes covering the 3rd of August and the 23rd of August, which basically discuss the preparations for World Peace Day celebrations in 2023. This event was held on Tuesday, the 19th of December. We hosted a youth forum during the day, attended by local school students. I'd like to thank the staff for their amazing efforts and Councillor Erin Watt for chairing and helping facilitate the day. It is very much appreciated. We had 4 very worthy nominees for the Youth Peace Award, with 19-year-old Samuel Hayeta, the very deserving winner. The Peace Bell Committee was informed last week that it is to receive a bequest from the estate of Miss Margaret Weir to the value of $50,000, which is truly incredible. Miss Weir was a supporter of the Peace Bell Committee and had a vision that with this bequest, the Peace Bell Committee would be able to strongly promote the Peace Bell and Cowra's guardianship of it for generations to come. So we humbly thank Miss Weir and the trustees for this donation.
Thank you very much. Very exciting news. So, Councillor Wright, would you like to speak?
No, there's not much to add in that last comment. Is the Weir Trust has been very generous right throughout the community and hasn't played favourites of anyone, and I hope we can thank them in the right way for the donation. Thank you.
Excellent. Anyone else would like to speak about that? A right reply, Councillor Dunning?
We'll be writing to them once the money's received, yes.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to add that to your motion just to make it formal through council?
No, because I'm just reporting on the minutes, so.
It'll come to us at a later date, I'm sure. So if anyone else would like to speak, please do so. No one else? Then I'll put the motion. All those in favour, say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Now we have the draft minutes for the Australia Day Committee, page 119, and that's Councillor Downing again. And the seconder, we have Councillor Kiss. Thank you. Now, Councillor Downing.
Planning meetings began in August, and the minutes in the agenda cover meetings on August 7 and 4 September. The committee held an Australia Day launch to promote with local community groups. The nominations are now open, and it was well attended. So the categories are, as everyone may know, but I'll remind you: Cowra Citizen of the Year, Cowra Young Citizen of the Year, Cowra Community Group of the Year, and the Dr. Warren Wiley Memorial Award. Nominating someone's easy as filling out a form. So you can get applications online or in the council offices, and nominations close on the 30th of November. We just encourage all of our residents to nominate someone and don't let those unsung heroes go unnoticed.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. And Councillor Kiss, would you like to comment? Anyone else would like to comment on that? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. So that now we have the donation for the Cowra Rugby Club, and I'm declaring an interest in that. So that's page 128. And if I ask Councillor Smith, Paul Smith, to take over the chair, and I'll move out. Thank you. Left my mess. Sorry.
Thank you, councillors. Item 6.10, donation to the Cowra Rugby Club waiving of tip fees. I think Councillor Watt has indicated that she'd like to add to that recommendation.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to move an amendment to add to the end of the motion, provided an appropriate DA is sought and approved and the relevant conditions are met.
Okay, that being the new recommendation, I've got a mover for it. Do I have a seconder for it? Councillor Judy Smith, thank you. Councillor Watt, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's great to see the Cowra Rugby Club supporting many other groups around the community. And for those who haven't had a chance to have a look, there's quite a list here of areas where the Cowra Rugby Club is providing their space to other community groups. Most prominently to me around the provision for the mobile daycare, which has made a big impact on the availability of daycare for many parents around the area. It's very important that we undertake this work seriously and safely. And from what's been proposed here, I see that the rugby club has taken that into consideration and is appropriately dealing with the asbestos and concerns on site. This is a somewhat of a heritage building coming from the army camp, but I have confirmed with the department and the director that it is not a problem to remove this, and there will be an improvement in safety by doing so. So happy to move this and support the Cowra Rugby Club.
A seconder doesn't want to speak. Councillor Wright?
Yeah, I've got a question first. I presume the DA is for demolition, is it? Yes?
Through the chair, yes it is.
If the asbestos is being taken out and wrapped, you don't need a DA for dismantling, do you? If the building's going to be dismantled, you don't need a DA. So we'd have to clarify whether they're going to dismantle it or demolish it.
Through the chair, any dismantling or demolishing any building that ordinarily you would need a DA to construct in the first place, you need a DA to demolish or dismantle.
Yeah, no, I support it, but I might ask the mover and seconder if they'd put a fee of up to provide a 50% discount up to and including $2,000.
The mover and the seconder,
I'm happy to accept that.
happy with that? Councillor Smith?
Sorry, could I just have that again?
Provide a 50% discount of tipping fees up to and including $2,000.
Yes, that's fine.
Can I just clarify that?
Yes, Councillor Wright.
Cost of the tip fees or cost of the donation?
Cost of the tipping fee. And accept the asbestos, I think that's what they're asking for.
Can I have that clear that you're suggesting that we waive 50% of the tipping fees of the asbestos up to a value of $2,000?
Up to and including.
Yeah, right.
Is it? I can't. Can I speak to it or not? I can't.
Look, I think we want this to be clear, so yes, please keep speaking.
That wouldn't be my. I don't think I'd support that. I'd.
Isn't that what?
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Now, as I understand it, the motion says that subject to a DA being approved. I want to speak against that on the grounds that the asbestos is the lining of the building and they want to remove the asbestos. It's got nothing to do with demolition of the building. It's removing the asbestos from the lining of the building. They don't need a DA for that. They need to comply with the asbestos legislation. Is it correct, I think? Yes. But they don't need a DA to remove the asbestos lining from the building. Now, I believe that they are going to put in a DA to demolish the building, but at this point, they just want to remove the asbestos lining from the building.
Mr Chairman, could I just jump in and ask, I understand, I know Councillor Delbo had indicated she was needing to leave at about this time, so just flagging if that's happening. I think the screen's frozen. No, it hasn't frozen. Good.
Thank you, General Manager. Yes, I do need to have a leave of absence, please, to get a transfer. Thank you.
Do we need a move? Right. We'll note that Councillor Delbo has now left the meeting. Bye.
Good night.
Darren.
Thank you.
Have a nice time. Righto. So we have a motion.
Sorry, as the seconder, can I just make sure I understand what I'm seconding? So the original recommendation was a 50% discount. What the mover and myself have accepted is a 50% discount up to council providing a maximum of $2,000, and that would be up to a total cost for the removal and disposal, rather, of $4,000. So the notional amount here for the budget was $3,200, but we're acknowledging that it may well be that there is more there. And so we're saying we will go up a little bit more. So we would provide a maximum of $2,000. That is correct?
That's how I understand it. Subject to a DA being approved.
That's fine by me.
Right. Yes.
I just would like to say that the actual original recommendation actually says from the demolition. So if we're speaking about a DA for a demolition, then that's what that was saying in the first place.
That's right.
Yep. So you're saying it's just two separate things, but that actually says it's for demolition.
I don't believe it.
So that would be a DA.
Councillor Watt has introduced a recommendation other than what is written here, added to it. So it's not what is written here, it's got an addition to it. So that is the motion. I personally believe that one's got nothing to do with the other, but I think it's a motion's been put and we're going to vote on it. Anyone else like to speak on it? Okay.
Yeah, I speak on it, and I'm sorry that I didn't make it clear on what my dollar intent was. But it's only for the receival of the asbestos, and we're going to give a 50% discount. It doesn't include what they've got to do to wrap it and take it off the walls or anything.
No.
And as Councillor Smith said, we're given a little bit of leeway, but I wanted to make sure there wasn't too much leeway, because we had another instance where they thought they're going to have 20 tonne and they ended up with 50 tonne or something, and it just blew out of proportion. I think it's going to be worked out with the rugby club if they're going to demolish it or not demolish it, because it's said in the original one from recommendation from the director, it's from the demolition of the old rugby house. So if they're going to do that, they'll have to get a DA.
Can I just speak, Mr. Deputy Mayor? I think the recommendation is a little bit clunky, but I think it's fine. It gets the message. We know what's been said. Clearly what the rugby club is asking for is support. Clearly what we're providing is support in line with what they've been asking. They will need a DA, we know that. They'll need to comply, we know that. That's normal standard practice. It's not a heritage building, it's an old building, it's not a heritage building, we know that. And I think in terms of what Councillor Wright is saying, yeah, he's put a ceiling on it, but there's every chance if it did turn out to be 25 tonne, the rugby club might come back to us and ask for reconsideration. That's fine. So I think we're just very clear what the intent is. Let's not get caught down in too much clunky wording to make it more complicated.
Yeah, the point with the clunky wording is that I believe they've got a licensed contractor that's available in about 2 weeks, and I don't know whether the DA for demolition will be through within 2 weeks. That's
With respect, that's their problem.
well, as it would be. So we have a motion. All those in
I
favour?
believe I get a right of reply.
Right of
Deputy
reply?
Mayor?
I thought we'd
We
had that.
haven't.
Okay, right of reply.
Yeah. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to thank Councillor Wright for providing the suggestion of a ceiling. I'm very happy to accept that amendment. It's very prudent of us to set that. As you've noted, this would have been open-ended without it, and I appreciate the addition of that. As much as I support the work of the Cowra Rugby Club, it's important that we apply a strict process for everything that we do here. We don't make decisions based on a timeline that someone else sets for us. We make decisions based on the rules and regulations. And I believe that it would not be a good idea for us to provide a discount or provide a donation to an organisation without ensuring that they follow the correct protocols around our DAs. And that's why I've moved this amendment.
I'll now put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Get Councillor Fagan back in.
Okay, we're up to 6.11. Hopefully that went well. Okay, the Leonard King High Performance Basketball Coaching, 131, page 131. Do I have the donation to the PCYC? I have a mover for that, Councillor Kiss, and a seconder. I have a seconder for that, Councillor Downing. Thank you very much. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is it possible for me to seek an amendment to the recommendation? I would like to recommend that the donation be reduced to 50%, that being $300. And would you like me to give my reasoning?
No, just have a seconder for that first.
And could I also
I will second that amendment.
include in that amendment?
So hold on a minute. We just have to move the amendment. You want to move an amendment to this motion?
But there are two reasons.
So Councillor Kiss has moved that. I need a seconder for that amendment. Councillor Smith. So now we need you to speak to that and explain what the amendment is and why you're moving an amendment.
There was an addition to the amendment as well, another one being the eligibility clause, because from what I understand, the eligibility criteria hasn't actually been met based on the one that's been recorded. So there were actually the two amendments to be made.
Should go ahead.
So you are questioning the report and the fact that it has it hasn't met the performance criteria for our eligibility request for the council donations policy.
Yes.
Okay. It does say here the request meets the eligibility requirements of clause 9. So what was your thinking?
Madam Mayor, a point of order.
Sure.
I'm a bit concerned because Councillor Kiss moved the motion and that motion was seconded. And I'm not sure that you can move a motion and then move an amendment to it.
That's correct, actually. So, but I think when Councillor Kiss said that she was going to move an amendment to the motion, Councillor Downey took back her seconding for the motion. So is that...
So this is not an amendment now? This is
a motion.
becomes
Sorry,
the
this will be the motion. because Councillor Downey did not support the amendment, so Councillor Kiss is moving a motion that would you like to read it out again, Councillor Kiss?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I don't believe I actually had the chance to speak to why I'd wanted to make an amendment.
You have to tell us what the amendment is first.
And then speak to it. The council provide a donation of $300 and the rest continues on with the rest of that recommendation. But also I wanted to have it noted within the report itself that the eligibility criteria actually has to be amended to actually be correct. I recognise that in the recommendation we don't have eligibility criteria. It's just that I feel that in the report it should show that there's a correct eligibility criteria written in there.
Madam Chair, just make the point that you cannot change the report. The report is as it stands, as it was published. You can certainly, in part of your motion, note what you may perceive to be inaccuracies in the report, but also flag if you're not quite following, but if you're looking to change the actual policy, that's a whole other matter again.
So you can speak about that in your in speaking to your motion. You can speak about the fact that you don't believe what you believe, but you can't actually include it as a part of the motion. So we have a motion to reduce the amount of donation to $300, and we have a seconder, Councillor Paul Smith. Do we? So Councillor Kiss, would you like to speak to that motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, I will speak just to clarify the eligibility criteria, and quite simply, it says that support for a locally based voluntary community service or program where the majority of its income is fundraising. And if you look up the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profit Commission, it clearly states that the majority of the income for PCYC is not for fundraising. So, and if you actually look over at their application, that particular box hasn't been ticked. Now, I look, and I do believe that there is eligibility criteria that does fit, which is why I'm happy to actually even consider a 50% provision, which is simply based on the fact that the festivals and special events which enhance community spirit. So that was just something that I'd wanted to clarify where I didn't believe the report meets the eligibility criteria. Having said that, look, I think this is a fabulous program for kids. I have, no doubt that it's going to be a wonderful thing for the community. So I do want to make sure that everyone's aware that I am very supportive of this. My concern with it is that whenever we are providing some sort of funds in a 356 or some sort of capacity, we like to think that the person that's requesting it has some sort of skin in the game, that they have actually made some sort of contribution towards making this happen, whether it be by way of their own financial contributions or their own actions. But from the report, I can't see, or in their application, I can't see anywhere where they've provided any skin in the game whatsoever. The person that's coming in to provide the clinic is supposedly providing full charge, which you can see is having to be made by the children. And the total fees of the court hire are $600, and it wouldn't appear that the PCYC has contributed anything at all, which is something that I would expect from an applicant. And that was my reasoning behind it. I'd just like to see them make some sort of contribution to what I think will be a fantastic opportunity for our local children. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Smith?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Fagan. I want to put it on note that I'm an old basketballer, a very keen basketballer, and I also a very keen supporter of the PCYC. Looking at this proposal, it appears to me that the PCYC would like council to give a contribution to the court costs that they are charging. And I can't see that the PCYC wants us to pay for the court fees that they're charging. And I just, the problem I've got with all of this is how much they're going to charge the kids to come to this. $80 a session if we don't cough, $50 if we do. And gee, some of these, you've got 2 kids have to go. You're paying big dollars for this. And the bit that's they want us to contribute to is the PCYC's court hire costs. I would have thought they'd waive that to have this thing here. So that's why I support Councillor Cusa's motion.
Okay, anyone else want to comment on this? Councillor Watt?
May I just ask some questions through the chair to the director? If that's okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, we got who? Michael. Sorry, Michael.
Firstly, could the director provide us some more information on how this application meets the eligibility requirements?
Through the chair, when the request was originally received, it appeared to be that the PCYC was asking for a donation of $600. From Councillor Paul Smith's inquiries this morning, further questions were asked, and it appears now that the request is actually from an individual who signed the donation request in conjunction with the PCYC. That individual's Raylene Beecher, apologies. And it is Miss Beecher and her husband that has been the driving force behind putting on this 2-day workshop for providing for Mr. King to come and provide these sessions. The Councillor Smith is correct that the PCYC has not come to the party in donating the court fees, and accordingly it's Miss Beecher who's through this donation request is actually asking for council to provide a donation to the PCYC to the value of $600 to cover that component of the sessions. I'm unaware of what other costs are going to be incurred. What you see in front of you is what I received, and maybe in hindsight further questions needed to be asked.
Thank you. And just a second question, which I think you've touched on, but if we were to approve this donation, would the money be provided to Raylene Beecher herself, or would it be provided directly to the PCYC?
So the motion is to provide a donation to the PCYC for the sessions to be held on the dates indicated.
So, Councillor Watt, have you finished your questions, or you'd like to speak
Sorry,
again?
just one more on that one.
Sure.
Is that usual? Is that kosher for an individual to apply for a donation to be provided to another organisation, or an organisation that they aren't a representative of?
Without asking further questions of the PCYC and putting my hand up that this information only came to light at around 2:00 this afternoon. I personally would like to see further supportive evidence from the PCYC as to what this arrangement consisted of. Not to put aside that there is an event planned and the youth of Cowra is going to get the benefit of, from what I understand, a pretty amazing coach delivering some pretty good sessions for basketball in Cowra. But you're right, really we should be seeing further supportive evidence from PCYC in this case.
So, would you consider, Councillor Kiss and Councillor Smith, consider a deferment of this matter until we have further information?
I definitely would. Thank you, Madam Mayor, because I would love to see it go ahead.
So you're going to withdraw the motion?
Yes, thank you.
And somebody move that we defer the motion for further information. Councillor Downing?
Could I just ask when this is on? I can't just see it. When is this going?
October.
October, so we've got time.
Yep.
No
So
worries.
somebody moves the motion that we defer this matter until we get further information.
I'll defer, move to
Councillor
defer the
Wright.
matter.
And Councillor Watt. And anyone else like to speak for the motion, against the motion? All in favour?
Well,
Would you like to speak for it, Councillor Watt?
yeah, I think, well, I just to reiterate what the director said, but what we got online this afternoon, it's just not clear what is going on and who's doing what, and I think a clarification is necessary, and that's it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the books to defer this matter until we get further report, and Councillor Wright has moved the motion. Councillor Watt has seconded it. Councillor Wright spoken. Would you like to speak, Councillor Watt?
Just to confirm that, yes, this seems like a fantastic event that I'd be very happy to support. But as noted previously, it's important that we have all of our information here to make a decision to spend constituents' money. And I'm looking forward to this hopefully coming to our general committee meeting in October so the event can go ahead.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wright, would you like any reply? Councillor Smith?
In terms of the questions we're asking, can we ask in general what the money is to be spent on, and can we confirm that the presenter is not charging a fee? Because there's been some question about that as well.
So, yeah, Councillor Wright, a reply. Is anyone else want to discuss anything? Yes, Councillor Downing.
So, from what I understand, Leonard King is a basketball player. He's highly experienced. He's ACT coaching development. He's obviously going to charge a fee. He's not going to do it that for nothing. It's obviously a business. So I think what I understand is that Raylene Beecher and her husband are paying for the event, and they want some money from council to pay for the PCYC fees. So perhaps we could suggest to Raylene she fill out another form, not including the PCYC as one of the recipients of the donation, and just say that it is for her to pay for the PCYC fees. And then my information tells me that there are a number of very skilled basketball players at the PCYC who this high performance training would help, and they're very keen to get it into the PCYC. So whatever else is spent, we don't really need to know if she's just going to apply to for money to pay the fees for the courts.
We'll leave that up to the director to decide what he's going to ask for, but we need some more clarification and a further information, if that's okay. Councillor West.
I was going to move the motion be put, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you very much. Put the motion. No, move the motion be put. We vote. So thank you very much. Will somebody second Councillor West's move? Thank you, Councillor Downey. Don't need a second up. Put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Don't need a second. Now put the motion that this be deferred. Councillor Wright gets to write a reply. It does go straight. I thought that actually. So, I put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. Very difficult discussion, but well done. Okay, so we're up to the Cowra Japanese and Garden and Cultural Centre. Councillor West has left. Is he leaving the room for the Cultural Centre? Japanese Garden and Cultural Centre. He was leaving the room, and I'd like somebody to move that a donation of $400 be given to the Japanese Garden for the Sakura Matsuri Festival. And I've got Councillor Watt and Councillor Smith. Councillor Watt, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very happy to move this recommendation. The Sakura Matsuri event was a fantastic one on the weekend, and the Cowra Japanese Garden and Cultural Centre do a fabulous job putting this on every year. The garden looks spectacular. Thank you to the wonderful garden team for, I'm sure, lots and lots of hours put into making it beautiful, as well as all of the visitors to Cowra. I'm very happy to suggest that we support the disposal of waste, and to clarify that the application here is to provide 20 event hire bins covering waste disposal.
Thank you. Councillor Smith. Anyone else like to comment on this donation? In that case, reply, Councillor Watt. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Councillor West, can you come, somebody get him and bring him back? And Councillor Watt is leaving the room because of her interest in the Cowra Tourism Corporation. So we now have the number 6.13 is donation Cowra Tourism Corporation, $5,500 for the New South Wales Golf Country Championships. And do I have
The question before it's moved, if I can, who's the donation going to? The Cowra Tourism or the Cowra Golf Club?
somebody clarify that?
Because the recommendation is different to what the top bit is and what the introduction and everything is.
I can try to
Councillor
clarify.
Smith, would you like to, as a delegate to the Cowra Tourism Corporation?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
The money actually goes to the people bringing country golf championship, and it's a requirement for a participating organisation that they pay this fee in order to get the golf championships to come along. It was, as I understand it, the tourism board who voted to ask council for the donation. So my understanding would be that it would go to them and it would then be paid to those organising the championship. And while the championship doesn't occur until October of 2025, the money needs to be paid now to secure the venue.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor West?
If Councillor Smith's moved the motion, I'm happy to second it.
Councillor Smith?
Happy to second it.
Thank you very much. No, would you like to speak for that, Councillor Smith?
I have in a sense. Really, I think it's been very well backgrounded there with a summary of what that would bring to Cowra. So I don't think I really need to say any more because I'm sure everyone has read it.
Can we just clarify the motion, because it says that council provided donation of 5.5 from section 3 to assist Cowra Golf Club, but it doesn't actually say who it's going to. So do we want to clarify that in that motion? Yes, it was. Thank you, Councillor Wright. So we need to clarify that. So it's going to the Cowra Tourism Corporation.
Well, I think it goes to Cowra Tourism Corporation because they're the body that's written to council seeking the funding. So,
that's right.
And I think providing we have the council provide a donation to Cowra Tourism and then to assist the Cowra Golf Club.
Okay.
I'm happy
with
to
that?
have that
Simple.
incorporated.
Simple.
Thank you very much. Now, Councillor West, would you like to speak?
I'm happy to strongly support this, Madam Mayor. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It'll promote Cowra, it'll bring people to the town. There's all the benefits we know. I don't need to extol the virtues of it. I just would also be asking Cowra Tourism to make sure that they clearly enunciate that the donation of $5,500 has come from by Cowra Shire Council. That's all I'd ask. So, and I think that's something we don't need to put in motion. I just ask that of them as they go forward. But I think an opportunity to promote Cowra and promote the golf club in particular.
So, Councillor Kiss?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, and it's not going to change my mind about the recommendation. I think it'd be a wonderful thing for Cowra. We should be supporting it. Is there any idea of what would happen if we're unable to hold the event? What would happen to that?
My answer would be don't donate the money. We'll get it back.
I think that could be taken on notice.
Yeah.
So we'll take that on notice and have the director give us some advice after he's found out himself. I think would be a good thing to happen. May come back to us, but at this stage, I think we'll just move on if that's all right with you, Councillor Kiss. Anyone else would like to speak about this? No one else. If that's the case,
Well, I think
yes, Councillor Wright.
I support it, and Councillor Kiss asked a question that what in the event of, and I think it's the mayor was right in saying we'll take it on notice. But the thing is, the money's got to be paid now, so the Cowra Shire Council will be paying tourism $5,500 so they can pass it on to New South Wales Golf Country Championship Committee for Cowra to host it. If it doesn't go ahead, there'll be a decision at that time, but it might necessarily come back and might not.
Thank you.
The money's got to be paid now. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Smith, would you like a right of reply?
Briefly. Firstly, in terms of promoting not only Cowra, but the fact that council has been a significant player in bringing this event to Cowra, if it does come, the idea would be that the mayor would be invited to present prizes, and I would certainly be asking as a delegate to Cowra Tourism that they ensure that the fact that there's been a donation be publicised widely. I assume that if the money is paid but Cowra doesn't, for whatever reason, get the gig, it would not be like paying to reserve a place for your child at a private school, that it would be in fact refundable.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I thought you were going to say that the mayor had to play. And I was going to say at least got a little bit of time to actually get that sorted. Okay, so we have the right to reply. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you, carried. Now, Councillor Watt, could we get Councillor Watt back? The next one is 6.14, the donation to Tractor Trek. And we provide a donation of $1,000 from expense budget to the Tractor Trek for the Little Wings, to raise funds for Little Wings. I have somebody move this.
I'd like to move an amendment.
Yes, you could. The motion, you have to
I'll
make,
move a
make the
motion.
motion.
That we donate $500 to the Tractor Trek.
So somebody second that? Yes, Councillor Kiss. So, Councillor Smith, would you like to speak on that, please?
Happy to. The Tractor Trek people have been in town over the weekend. They've left today. They spent their time, as they say here, at the showground, on the showground itself, not in the showground camping area, but on the showground itself. They approached the showground as, and I'm speaking on behalf as council's appointee to the showground trust. They sought a discount on everything that we do at the showground. They didn't want to pay camping fees. They didn't want to pay the cleaning fees. They didn't want to pay anything. And they raised money for Little Wings, a great charity. But they are not putting their hand in their pocket to any degree at all. And what we are doing is basically giving a donation to Little Wings. And I feel if they're going to donate to Little Wings as well, they should put in. And I think $500 is adequate.
Councillor Kiss?
Yes, I'm probably speaking a bit out of turn because I'm not quite sure whether I'm still for or against, in that I just don't know what contribution this Tractor Trek was providing of their own. Are they providing their own diesel and their own time? So I think I'd support it either way. I think it's a wonderful thing for Little Wings, but just to know how much skin in the game they actually have is a different story. Thank you.
So have we got anyone speaking for this motion? Anyone else speaking for the motion?
A question, please.
Yes, Councillor Wright.
Would it be possible to know what the showground trust has donated to them? Do they still have to pay for some of the use of the showground? Because that's what it's in the introduction. It said it to offset the showground costs. So.
Yes, the showground has charged them. Off the top of my head, the camping fees were around $500 per night. They've been charged for 2 nights. They've been there for 3. So there was a 33 1/3% discount there. And the same went with the cleaning fees for the toilets and showers were exactly the same. They paid for 2 and we let them come for 3. So we have given 1/3 off as we would see it at this point. They didn't recognise that at all. So
Councillor Wright, any more questions? Yep, Councillor Downey.
When people are signing these, filling out these forms for donations from council, like what is their obligation to tell us what their skin in the game is? Like, what do we have to assume? Like, just because they haven't listed everything that they're going to pay for, why do we have to assume that they're not paying for anything? They're just literally asking us for the one thing. So I'm just wondering why they have to tell us what they're paying for. Obviously, there would be associated costs, and if there wasn't anyone in the room who knew what the Showground Trust did, we wouldn't know any different. So I can't see it's a charity. They're trying to raise money. So I can't understand why we're not giving the Tractor Trek money. We're giving Little Wings money because they are the ones they're going to donate to. So I'm not sure what the skin in the games stuff has, even with the PCYC or this one.
So you're speaking against the motion?
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just asking a question of like, why don't we just put a little box that says tick skin in the game and then just do that?
Councillor West?
I'm happy to support the recommendation of Councillor Smith. I accept his explanation. If councillors don't want to donate $500, want to donate something else, then let's not debate it in terms of what they do, because we know Little Wings are great. We know Tractor Trek has been a great organisation. What council's inclined to donate, and we support them. I'm happy with $500. If someone wants a different amount of money, let's talk about the amount of money rather than the concept of what they do. I think $500 is a reasonable amount.
Okay, Councillor Watt.
Very brief question. Is the 33% discount for a third night provided to everyone who stays at the showground, or just in this case?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
It's a little bit too quick.
Well, the end bit was.
The discount articulated here to give 33% off the cost if you stay for 3 nights, is that provided to anyone who stays at the showground for 3 nights, or just in this case?
No, it's not. It's not normally provided. No.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've got a motion. I have a seconder. I have a speaker for, and anyone else would like to speak? Had a lot of questions, but we're up to, would you like a right of reply, Councillor Smith? Anyone else like to speak? No, Councillor Smith? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so we have the Director of Infrastructure and Operations, the progress report on the planning agreement, 153. Councillor Watts, happy to move it? No, Councillor Watts leaving the room. She's happy to move it, but she's leaving the room instead. Okay, so we have this progress report. We've seen this a few times, so hopefully everyone's read it and understands it or has asked the questions. So can I have somebody move that this recommendation about the amended planning agreement? Councillor Smith. Seconder, Councillor West. Thank you very much. Anyone, would you like to speak? Councillor Smith.
Only just what I do know about this. This is my patch at Marongla. This is where the road the Marongla Road meets the Reeds Flat Road, and instead of being the Marongla Road meeting the Reeds Flat Road, the Reeds Flat Road will meet the Marongla Road. So the Marongla Road will go straight through. And part of the conditions of the DA, I believe, from submitted by Glenalla Quarry when they expanded their operation, was that they would provide in-kind materials to do the job on changing the corner.
Does the seconder wish to speak?
Only very briefly, and just acknowledge this has been provided to us as an update. This has been an issue for quite some time. The planning agreement has now been met in the appropriate way. We've got the information, and it's I think in that whole context there's only one component left, which is under the Lachlan Valley Way. We'll move on.
Excellent. Anyone else wish to speak, comment on this motion? Okay, I'll put the motion. No right of reply. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? You have to raise your hand. It's a planning matter. All in favour? Aye. And carried. Thank you very much for that.
Councillor Watt, thank you.
Councillor Watt could come back, that'd be great. Now 7.2, 155. We have the yellow bin recycling contamination rates. This is a report. And receive and note the information provided on the yellow bin recycling contamination rates and the strategies to be included in the waste management strategy to reduce contamination. Councillor Smith and Councillor Watt, thank you.
I would like to speak, and it may well be at length. Apologies in advance. With the best will in the world for everybody involved in it these days, I think recycling is a difficult issue, from the manufacturers to what is done with the recycled materials that are collected. It's all a fairly fraught issue. However, council can only concentrate on what we can control and perhaps on what we can influence. We certainly can, through an education program, hope to influence people in the Shire in terms of better understanding the needs of recycling and a better recycling rate. We certainly can acknowledge past difficulties, past mistakes, and commit to and continue to improve what we do. Noting from this very comprehensive report, and I thank the Director and the Acting Director for a report that is very informative, although I read it with some different conclusions to the speaker who spoke in the public gallery. But I think it is an important report, and it's an important report to put out into the public arena, because it looks particularly at the last 6 years and the changes that the MRF has gone through, the changes that our waste strategy has gone through, and it predicates a future where we will continue to evolve that waste strategy. The average contamination rate over the past 6 years has been 43%. That's a really high contamination rate, and it comes about, I think, largely because there's a lot of confusion, despite council's best efforts, as to what can be recycled. Different things can be recycled in different LGAs, and so people are often really not sure. I have worked with the Tidy Towns Committee and been intimately acquainted with the difficulties of recycling for many years. I still have questions. I still learned that we are, at our last visit to the MRF, that we are now able to take products that we couldn't take until a little while ago. But people have legitimate questions. When is a pizza box too greasy to recycle? You know, all that sort of thing. That said, there are, I think, some people out there who put things in that are obvious contaminants. The speaker before, Mr. Vickery, talked about COVID and how that meant that we couldn't have enough people legitimately on the line to cope adequately with recycling as it came through, and that meant that some products went to landfill that under normal circumstances would not. However, those people who are on the line can't be expected to risk their safety by picking up needles, by picking up fecal matter, by picking up other things which, including dead cats, which are on occasion thrown into recycling bins. Sometimes, and sometimes I believe when Mr. Vickery says he saw and heard of recycling vehicles taking things straight to landfill, sometimes that has been legitimately because there was not enough room for the material, and council is and has got itself another large area with an impermeable surface, as it must have, that will now be able to handle any overflow. But sometimes an entire truck full of recycling can be contaminated, as for example, when someone has put oil in a bin and that's tipped in and it goes everywhere. So there are difficulties. Council did not anticipate the flood of CDS material that came in, that meant that because we were contracted to do that, that meant that we couldn't recycle everything that came out of recycling bins. But I do say again, we need to look at the future. We need to work with our residents to up the rate of recycling that is not contaminated, and then to ensure as best we can that we have the practices, procedures and processes that will mean that people who do go to the effort that Mr. Vickery was talking about are rewarded. Now, I certainly don't agree with his saying that over a period of 17 months, no material was recycled. We do charge for recycling, but we do service that charge. We pick the recycling up, we bring it to the MRF, and as best we can, we try to recycle it. I would certainly recommend that anybody who is watching this, if they haven't already, downloads the free MRF app, which is fantastic. It gives you lots of answers to all those vexed questions of what can, what can't be recycled. It continually updates with new things that can be recycled, and it has even an Ask Anthony feature if you have a question that will be answered in real time. So with that, I commend this report to you, and I commend the amended waste management strategy that has been recently added to in an attempt to ensure that we are best practice in terms of recycling. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Judy Smith's moving of this motion is indicative of the passion that this council has for environmental sustainability and the importance we place on ensuring that the MRF does the best that it can to recycle and reuse as much product as comes through as possible. I'd like to thank Mr. Vickery for coming along today to speak to his letter. It's unfortunate that he has left, and I hope that he takes the time to listen to Council's response tonight, because while it is good to put forward a question to the Chamber, it should be a two-way street, and we have all taken the time to read his letter and do some investigation in response to that. As I said, environmental sustainability is one of our 8 focus areas in the Community Strategic Plan. We have stated as one of our strategic objectives to aim to be an area of environmental excellence. However, as seen in this strategy, we are not quite there yet, and I don't think that there's anywhere around Australia that could claim that they are there yet. Councillors have undertaken 2 visits to the MRF since being elected in 2021, and we're working with council staff to develop a waste management strategy. Recycling contamination is core to that strategy. Predominantly recycling contamination does not mean having syringes in the recycling, but as Councillor Smith indicated, having items that are not recyclable contaminate other elements such as pizza boxes, dirt, oil. As people would understand, your individual bin doesn't get taken on its own to the tip, so while you're putting a great effort, your materials may be contaminated by someone else. Our trucks have cameras in them where they can see that there is contamination in some cases, and in some cases that has resulted in a decision that it is not able to be processed, and that has meant that some recycling has gone to a bin. However, as noted in other cases, there were operational reasons to take recycling bins direct to landfill. I'm very disappointed that that's the case that we're in as our council, but As articulated here in the fantastic report from our infrastructure and operations team, we have now put in place an additional area to process that recycling. We're also taking on a great project for our area in processing the container deposit scheme products for a large area around us, and that's given us a lot of insight into how to continue to recycle. As noted here, the council is considering ways to build our community's engagement and acknowledge of this. As Councillor Judy Smith's noted, download the Murph app. It's got a lot of great information in it. We are also looking at other community education incentives and ways for us to manage other recycling products such as soft plastics. As we can see in these figures, there's been a great issue with contamination, particularly in 2021 and 2022. However, as the reports show, there has already been a significant reduction to 43% contamination year to date. As I noted before, this is obviously not something that we would want to look for, that it is as high as 43%, but I hope that the community can see that we are making a real effort to reduce that. And as can be seen by our prioritising of the development of a waste management strategy, we are trying even harder to make sure that gets as close to zero as possible. As Councillor Smith said, anyone who's listening, please download the Murph app and take advantage of the information there. Ask someone, look it up, ask Anthony, and you will hopefully make sure that your recycling all goes to recycling.
Thank you, Councillor Watt.
Madam Chair, could I indulge you to ask the Acting Director to, just for the record, advise of a couple of corrections that were identified in the report after it had been published?
Thank you.
The two corrections are noted for this report on page 2, the first table in the report. The total averages on the last line of the report are incorrect. The first one, average 330 tonnes, is actually 482 tonnes. The second one, average 584 tonnes, is actually 384 tonnes. Those errors came from a larger table, and so when brought across, they were not correct.
Thank you. Director, Acting Director. Thank you very much. Now, does anyone else want to speak about this on this motion? If there is no more, Councillor Smith?
I just wanted to say that on the numbers, and not so much the ones we've got here today, but the ones we were presented with the other day, the improvement in the last 12 or in this financial year has been very, very good. I think from the top of my head on the figures we got that day, the amount of tonnage that was going direct to landfill was 8%, assuming that 43% would have that been contaminated anyway. You're back to about 4% of what was actually not recycled. So the improvement over the last little while, I think, has been wonderful, and we've got to keep doing it.
Thank you. Do you want right of reply, or is there anyone else want to speak? Right of reply, Councillor Smith? If that's the case, then I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Smith, for your diligence. Number 8.1, the minutes of the Access Committee, meeting held on the 28th of August 2023. Councillor Kiss and someone else second the motion. Councillor Downing? Thank you very much. Everyone's gone to sleep. Sorry about that. So we have the Access Committee. Councillor Kiss, would you like to speak on that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, just briefly, as you can see from the minutes, our committee has been very busy working towards ensuring that accessible parking is meeting current standards. You'll see quite a few new bollards around, so we thank the infrastructure and operations team for putting in those new blue bollards, preventing people from parking in the mid-yellow section of between the disabled parking spots. It's been very helpful. We've also been making inquiries about gutters that, if laid back, would actually extend pathways instead of just meaning that you get to the end of that gutter and it drops off. So it'd be great to see those pathways continued. And they're very keen to work with and consult with stakeholders regarding their accessibility and the Access Incentive Fund, which will come up a bit later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Downing, would you like to comment?
I just had a couple of questions. So the Disability Inclusion Action Plan is currently with the consultant. So I was just wondering if we have a time frame on that.
Director?
Through the chair, hoping to have a response back from him within the next month.
And then the survey to be distributed, who is the survey going to?
Councillor Kiss?
Well, through the Access Committee, we're hoping to be able to speak with individuals and groups and put it out on public notice as well. Thank you.
And then there was an inclusive playground to raise with the Sport and Rec Committee. So the Sport and Rec Committee's delegation is only really to work with the adopted delivery plan for sporting facilities. So playgrounds are not included in that. There's a separate section for them and a separate budget. So what I would suggest, and the General Manager has said that would be okay, is if we possibly could write you a letter of support at any grant funding that you would apply for from Sport and Rec. And then the mountain bike, my information is that we're waiting on Crown Lands. There's problems with the land, or there's hold-ups with the land where a mountain bike track would be erected, built.
Just answering that
Yeah.
last one, no, there will be challenges we'll have to face with Crown Lands and everything associated with that. We just haven't had any resourcing to put towards even looking at that at this point in time.
Right, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Downing. Anyone else would like to comment on this? Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to ask a question of the Director. It's my understanding that the Disability Inclusion Action Plan is out of date. Can you please confirm when that was set to be reviewed?
Through the chair, it was set to be reviewed last year.
Thank you. From looking at it myself, I thought that it was to be reviewed in 2021. But regardless, this policy is quite out of date now. And as has been articulated here and in previous conversations, there has been substantial changes to the Disabilities Act. And as we will discuss next in the Access Incentive Scheme, there's a lot of important work here to be done. Can you please provide us with an update and a deadline for when this will be completed?
Through the chair, I can't give you a deadline for when it's completed. We're in the process of rewriting the entire action plan at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any further comments? Right of reply.
Just one,
Yes, Councillor Wright.
just clarification, please. An adaptive mountain bike track would be a mountain bike track where disabled people could use it, isn't it? It's not to do with what's happening up there at the moment.
It's just up to the Access Committee, I guess, to
Well, what is an adaptive
yeah, I'm sure.
mountain bike
Councillor
track?
Kiss, would you like to answer that?
It's been suggested that a mountain bike track might be good for Cowra. Again, it's just something that's being suggested and discussed. And an adaptive one in particular means that it can be used for everybody. So we haven't made any headway at this stage as to say even who we could apply to see where it could even be positioned. So it hasn't gone any further with that. But the reason we've specifically said on there is included in the DAP, it could be something to be investigated, the potential of it. The PACP is actually the PAMP, and again, I'm not exactly sure of how that actually goes along with our pathways and things, but it's in there. And to raise with Sport and Rec Committee is obviously there is a lot of overlap between Sport and Rec and between Access Committee. We want to make sure that anything that could potentially be taken up with Sport and Rec is also accessible by the entire population. So there's going to be some, collective discussions, and it's certainly not up to one committee to decide what's going to happen and what doesn't.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Wright?
Yeah, I think I come off at the first corner actually, but anyway, the River Park toilets, are they the ones over around the visitor centre and McDonald's? Is that's what you call the River Park toilets?
Said that part of Cowra, who have been River Park for the last 50 years. River Park is down here, Holman and Twig Ovals.
That's what I thought. So that's a separate.
I think with Councillor Kiss, would you?
Oh, sorry, Councillor Wright. Yes, I was just trying to find exactly where it was. Yes, what it is we've been, as we know, just discussing the potential for an inclusive playground, something that is actually accessible by all, and that if it was able to go ahead and if it was able to be at River Park, if it was decided that it was going to go ahead, then we'd also have to ensure, obviously, that we have accessible toilets in that area. It's been identified that that old toilet block that is positioned around the barbecue area and current playground there, it's obviously an old one and it's not inclusive at all. And as much as I understand that there is an accessible toilet right down on Bow Street, the only option to get to there is either to then get back into your vehicle or have the carer place the occupant back into the vehicle and drive all the way around, or push potentially a wheelchair all the way across the grass, which again is improbable. So it was saying, look, if we are going to investigate the potential for an inclusive playground, we also need to consider the amenities that are around it. Thank you.
Thank you. So Councillor Kiss, anyone else want to comment, or Councillor Kiss can have right of reply? She doesn't need any more. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So we're up to the Cowra Natural Resource Management Advisory Committee minutes, number 8.2. Councillor Wright, a seconder, please. Councillor Kiss again. Thank you very much. Councillor Wright.
Well, there for your reading, we did hold the afternoon of longer on the 20th of September with demonstrating the use of drones in environmental management areas, and weed spraying, mapping and so forth, and different sizes of drones that we use. We've got 25 people there, and the presenter had 5 people there, 2 directors and 1 full-time staff member and 2 residents. And they provided very good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
And just ads out there for the bird weed archery bird thing, they have opened, and we encourage anyone to lodge their application online and digital photograph. It's been a good start to entries coming in, and we should thank the LOS and for helping organise the collection of entries with the use of technology, and also this will be tied in with the Murray-Darling Basin event here at Cowra with the water birds. Other than that, we're slowly working ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Kiss, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I had a quick look at the Moxie tour potential in General Business 4.1, and I was just wondering whether it might be possible that this tour be extended at all to councillors. If at all it was to go ahead, it's to look at the biodigester, which I think would be quite interesting for us to learn more about. Thank you.
And Councillor Wright?
Yeah, I'll take that on. It would be open to anyone that was interested. The problem at the moment is that they've stopped doing the tours, and due to COVID and so forth, and we've got to create discussions with them to see if they're interested in recommencing them.
Excellent. So anyone, with that a right of reply, Councillor Wright? Anyone else have any comments or questions? Councillor Wright, would that be your right of reply? All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So we're up to the adoption of the reviewed access incentive scheme grant funding policy in page 173. And have a mover. Councillor Kiss and Councillor Downey.
I have a change that I want to make
Okay.
to the policy.
Okay. That's we can have an amendment to the policy.
Yep.
Can I?
Do you want me to go?
We need a seconder for that. What's the amendment? Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to propose an amendment to the policy to increase the financial incentive from $5,000, from up to $5,000 to up to $10,000 and remove the obligation for business and community groups to match the funding.
We haven't had a mover.
Well, no, Nikki was moving the other, so.
So you've got Councillor Downey and Councillor Watt. And would you like to speak to that?
Yes. So basically, in short, I want to ensure that the community spend this money. The Master Builder Australia Chief Economist stated in July this year that the June quarter ABS figures showed a 0.6 increase in building materials, which was the smallest increase since 2020. And although the slowdown overall cost of building materials is welcome, there's also been a sizable increase of 7.4% over the last 12 months. ABS figures also show a CPI increase of 0.8%, and that's an annual increase of 6%. So if we take this information into account, the amount we are proposing to increase the incentive for the access scheme is about 13%, and that's over 18 years. Cowra Council last month voted to take a motion to the Local Government New South Wales Conference calling upon the New South Wales Government to adopt livable housing design in full, at which time Councillor Kiss said retrofitting and it was difficult and expensive, and I couldn't agree more, which is why I feel the need to suggest we increase the amount. We've had a poor uptake of this incentive scheme over the past 18 years, only approving 17 projects since 2005 and spending $2,869.76 on average per year out of our $30,000 to $40,000 budget. The meaning of incentive is a thing that motivates or encourages someone to do something. I think it is worth increasing the amount and removing the duty to match as a greater incentive if we are serious about working to achieve Council's strategic goals around accessibility. I believe that we need to put some meat on the bones of the scheme and work at making it highly visible for our whole shire.
Thank you very much, Councillor Downey. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I strongly support this amendment. As Councillor Downing noted, we've had a fairly low uptake of this in the last few years, and while Council has been very committed to supporting our businesses in improving their access, it hasn't followed through in the application of funds. We still have quite significant accessibility issues around town, and undoubtedly part of this is because it is expensive for individual businesses to do so. We have tried for a number of years the option of providing 50-50 and the current amount, and from looking at our results from this, it is clear that we need to do something different. So I'm very happy to support the proposal that we increase it to $10,000 and that we remove any reference to the need for it to be 50-50. This is a great way for us to lend a helping hand to our community. And in addition, there are a number of council facilities with accessibility issues, and it's vital that we resolve these as soon as possible and lead by example. These can't be funded by this scheme. This scheme is purely for community groups, for businesses, and can't be on a council building. However, I hope that my fellow councillors will look to resolve ways that we can find our ability to lead by example and resolve those issues as we ask the community to do so as well.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Does anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Kiss.
Could I seek an amendment on Councillor Downing's proposal?
You could try that and see what Councillor Downing thinks.
I am fully supporting what Councillor Downing is saying. I would like to have seen a better uptake. However, I do think that there has been quite a good uptake personally when I consider the differences.
What's the amendment,
20 years
Councillor
ago? Sorry, the amendment is that yes, we increase it to 10,000, but I do think there still has to be some skin in the game. Potentially not the 50%, but I do think that the organisation or business has to be showing to be made some contribution. And do I have to set a percentage within the amendment?
Councillor Downey, Councillor Watt, are you?
No, I don't support that.
Okay.
I would suggest even 20%, just something so that the businesses and organisations can show that they aren't just doing it because it's a handout, that they genuinely want to make an effort and that
Yep.
they're going
Are
to
you going to
make a
accept the amendment or not?
No, I'm not.
No, they're not. So councillor Kiss, you're, do you want to move the amendment? You need to move your own amendment to that, and then we need to have somebody second it, and then you need to speak for it.
move my own amendment,
Mhm.
but it wasn't accepted.
No, you can move it yourself.
You can try now.
You can have.
No, I'll let it go.
Okay, thank you very much. So we now have a motion, and we have a mover and a seconder. So who else would like to speak
I have
for
a
that,
question,
against
please.
that?
The motion should indicate that item 3 in the policy, it'll be changed from $5,000 to $10,000. And item 3.1.4, that that'll be all removed. There's no requirement for matching funding.
That's exactly right. That's
Correct.
the actual motion.
Yeah, so it'll have to be changed to this policy after adopting it.
Yes, that's correct. So anyone else would like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Smith.
Question, if I could, Mayor Fagan. Does the mover or the seconder of this motion have any idea of what the budgetary implications may be?
I'd like you to clarify the question, what budgetary implications?
We have a 50-50 basis and $5,000. We're going to $10,000. That appear to me to be a double. So would the budgetary implications be that we would expect to pay out twice what we have in our budget?
Considering we haven't paid out very much, if 4 people take it up and that's all we can help in one financial year, well then wouldn't that be better than 0?
That's not.
To answer the question, the budget allocated is $40,000,
I was going to say.
and it's not proposed that we would exceed that. It's just that we are putting in an incentive to encourage people to take it up. But no, there is not a proposal that we would exceed our budget.
That's Councillor West.
I'm happy to move an amendment, Madam Mayor, that the maximum level go to $10,000, but the rest of the report, the rest of the policy remain as is. In other words, it's a dollar for dollar basis for
You're speaking against the motion that
no, I'm moving an amendment.
Moving an amendment?
Doesn't matter what Councillor Kiss did or said.
you're looking for a seconder, Councillor West.
No,
Councillor
I'm formally
Kiss is
moving
going
an amendment.
to-
If we get a seconder, I'll speak to it.
Councillor Kiss has seconded it to Councillor West. So you can speak to the motion. Your amendment.
I think it's appropriate that $10,000 is the level, but I also think that businesses should have some skin in the game. I'm not sure that I'm buying the argument that this has been, well, in fact, it has been poor uptake, and that's been disappointing and disappointed council for many years. It's been poor uptake. I think $10,000 is an incentive, but I do believe that there should be some skin in the game from businesses and industry, and I don't think it's unreasonable for dollar, and I think up to $10,000 contribution is quite a substantial contribution, but I think people should have skin in the game. It's as simple as that. It's a hand up, not a handout in my mind. I think that this is an important issue. Don't get me wrong, it's an important issue, but I think it should just be responsible that 10 grand is fine, appropriate, and I looked at the $5,000, I thought it was a bit skinny, but I think people should, as I'm repeating myself, there should be some co-contribution from businesses, and in the absence of any other figures being chucked up, I'm happy to go leave it as it is, dollar for dollar.
Councillor Kiss, would you like to speak to the amendment?
Yes, I totally support what Councillor West is saying. I think the only thing that I can be pleased with here is that our intentions at this council don't appear to be any different to what they were in 2005. I think the intention is simply to create greater accessibility and greater opportunity for our businesses and organisations to help themselves. And I think if that's going to do it, then I totally agree with the 50% co-contribution and definitely an increase to $10,000.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to comment? Speaker, Councillor Smith.
I'm going to speak against the amendment. I understand the concept and we all like to help those who help themselves. However, if there was not much take up in an up to 5,000 on a dollar for dollar basis, I think in the current climate of business uncertainty, asking them to contribute up to $10,000 is perhaps going to be productive of a similar result to what's happened over the last few years. So I am in favour of removing the co-contribution requirement. As I understand it, council doesn't have to, I'll stop there.
Yeah. Do I have a speaker against, for the motion, for the amendment? Somebody else to speak for the amendment that Councillor West has put up and Councillor Kiss? If I have no further speakers, then I'll put the amendment, which is the amendment to up the ante $10,000 and leave it with co-contribution. So if everyone would like to have a vote show, I think we should vote. Everyone in favour of the amendment, say yes. Put your hand up, it's easier. We have yes, and then against. It's lost. So we go back to the original motion put up by Councillor Downey and Councillor Watt.
Madam Chair, may I ask what you voted? Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
I didn't. So busy counting the votes, I didn't vote. So actually I will vote, I will vote against the amendment. So I'm with the motion that Councillor Downey and Councillor Watt have put up, and I agree with you. We'll go back to the original motion. Councillor Downey and Councillor Watt is that we up the ante to $10,000 and we don't provide and we don't ask for a co-contribution. So I'll put that motion unless we have a right of reply. Councillor Downey. I thought you might have already done that somewhere along the line. Try again.
Possibly said too much already. I just want to thank my colleagues for the discussion. I think it's a really worthy cause, and I think if we can encourage our business community, not just in the main street of Cowra, in the whole Shire, to take up this and spend our budget on this and increase accessibility for all, I think that will be a very good result.
Thank you, Councillor Downey. I will now put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Now we're up to, thank you very much for that debate. Quite complicated, but worked. Adoption of a reviewed of naming and renaming the bridges, roads, streets and places policy, and please don't make this as hard as the last one. Councillor Smith's going to move this. Thank you very much, Councillor Smith, and Councillor Watt's going to second it. And can you speak, Councillor Smith, please?
I will speak very briefly. We have had considerable discussion of this before it was put out to public exhibition. All I will say now is that as a result of the public exhibition, there were no submissions, so I see no reason why we should change the policy.
Excellent. Councillor Watt. If anyone else would like to speak, otherwise I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Okay, now number development application number 5 Kendall Street, and Councillor Watt's declared an interest, so it's page 205. Thank you, Councillor Smith and Councillor West. Anyone? Councillor Smith?
This is just an amendment basically to a DA of moving a door and some brickwork, and I think it's just a formality. Only came to us because it's a heritage building.
Councillor West?
And completely concur, and it's also a little bit about disability access.
I was going to suggest that they might be made aware of the Disability Incentive Access Scheme.
Made aware.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's very well used then.
No.
Yes, it's Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yes, I was just about to congratulate the applicant on their creative thinking to ensure both maximum efficacy and accessibility. I was very pleased with their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to comment? Right of reply, Councillor Smith. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Hands up, everybody, please. Paul wasn't. He's recalcitrant. Carried. Oh, Councillor Watt, back. I'm getting lots of encouragement here to keep going. So 224, is this the next one, the late report? Is that what we want, though, the late report?
Yes, the motion, notice of motion. It's on a separate document.
Yeah, the late report's on a notice of motion and it's on a separate document in your hub, if you can all find it. And I'm moving this. It's actually, sorry, I've got to find it. I need a seconder, but I think there's an amendment to this. So we'll wait for Councillor Watt to come back. She won't be a minute. So if we could come her up with the words before she comes back, that would be good. Councillor Smith's going to, has wordsmithed this to include a few extra things. So yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Downing. But Councillor Smith has the floor and he's moving the motion.
I'd like to thank Councillor Downing for assisting me in this. I'd like to add, where it says Minister for Environment, I'd like to add the Minister for Health into the motion, and I'd like to move, change the wording that we, in support of the Cowra Golf Clubs, as they seek urgent assistance to control the rapidly growing flying fox colony on the golf club course and the adjacent playing fields.
You have that written down and I'll second that because I'm very much concerned with this. Councillor Smith, would you like to speak to that motion?
I think it speaks for itself. The rationale's there. Everybody's read it. It's getting worse. We're not going to get anywhere unless we go to the top, I think, and we've just got to do everything we can to try and get rid of these stinking disease-carrying things.
I'd like to speak for them as a seconder of this motion to say that this has become a very big problem along the Bora Road and the golf club, and the according to the information that we have, there's now about 45,000 bats at the golf club, which has been increased dramatically in the last 18 months, and it is a problem not only for becoming not only a problem for the golf club, but it's also looks like after today going down the road that it's becoming a problem for the sporting fields across on the other side. And I'm sure that they will continue to move. And if they expand, because there's so many of them, they want to all stay together in that very small area. So they are a problem. I think we are seeking help from the state government, and I'm sure there are other communities in the state. I do know lots of communities throughout the state that are having the same problem, and this may be something we can elevate to a higher level at a later date. But at this stage, we need to urgently have some advice and some information and some maybe funding from the state government to control this very, very plague-like proportions. They're actually native bats, but they've become flying rats in the residential areas, and I think that's a problem that we they are like rats and they smell and they're dirty, and I think that's I just think that they're not a very nice animal, so we need to control them. If not, at least move them on. Would be lovely. Anyway, I've spoken about it. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Downey?
Our problem is, even though they may smell like rats, they are actually not recognised as rats. They're actually the grey-headed flying fox and the little red flying fox, which are part of 4 that are actually classified as endangered species. So I thought it was prudent to change the motion, because I wanted it to be clear that the golf club would be responsible for applying for the as of rights for any dispersal of any roost, because that can be quite expensive. So I didn't actually want it to be thought that the council would pay for that. We were just supporting them I would have liked to have seen a letter from the golf club requesting that we actually do this and support them. So I'm hoping that they are actually going to be writing to the minister as well. And just good luck to them. The figures I saw said that dispersal several thousand to several $1 million, and they're not always successful. So I wish them luck.
Thanks very much for that excellent information, Councillor Downey. Anyone else like to comment on this? Or...
Yeah, just quickly, you mentioned sporting fields, but we have got food service businesses adjacent to the club there, to the golf course, and a car park, recreation area for kids. So there is a rising health problem could arise.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'm just, sorry, but apparently this is the second largest colony in New South Wales or something. So it is a significant event.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Anyone else like to comment, or will I put the motion? Right of reply, Councillor Smith. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Thank you. Carried. Now, I have any other urgent motions? Are there any other urgent motions? If that's the case, we will now move into confidential matters, and we'll close the meeting. And thank you very much for your attendance. A very long night. I hope you've enjoyed it. not quite like a television show, but you know.
It's a little bit long-winded.
Okay, so I'll now take motion to close the meeting. The public consider the following confidential reports from the General Committee held on 11th September. Request for water account adjustment, assessment number 49851, and from the Director of Corporate Services, request for water account adjustment, assessment number 63479. These matters are considered to be confidential under Section 10A(2)(b) of the Local Government Act, and the Council is satisfied that discussion of these matters in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest as they deal with discussions in relation to the personal hardship of a resident or ratepayer. Item 1.2 from the General Committee held on 11th September 2023, request for tender 92023 Cowra TCTB and relining, and from the General Manager and from item 13.1 from the General Manager, the sale of land, Lot 9, Cowra Airport to Brian Fisher, and item 15.1 from the Director of Infrastructure and Operations titled Assessment of Request for Quotation 6, 2023, construction of Evans Street Shared Pathway. These matters are considered to be confidential under Section 10A(2)(d)(1) of the Local Government Act, and the Council is satisfied that discussion of these matters in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest as they deal with commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it. Items 12.1 and 12.2, two mayoral minutes titled Annual Performance Room to the 30th of June 2023, and the General Manager Renewal of Contract 2024-2029 and Performance Agreement 2023-2024. These matters are considered to be confidential under Section 10A(2)(a) of the Local Government Act, and the Council is satisfied that discussion of these matters in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to the public interest as they deal with personal matters concerning particular individuals other than councillors. And item 14.2 from the Director of Corporate Services titled Cowra Civic Centre Auditorium Retractable Rate Seating Quote. This matter is considered to be confidential under Section 10A(2)(c) of the Local Government Act. The Council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest as it deals with information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom the Council is conducting or proposes to conduct business. I need a seconder. Mover and a seconder. I've got Councillor Downey and Councillor Kiss. Thank you very much. And can I suggest that we actually move the discussion about... put the motion. All in favour? I can't drink out of that. That's the mayor's.